Welcome to episode 40 of Priviso Live, where we decode cybersecurity, privacy, and governance with real-world relevance. I'm Lynn, your host, and joining me are our resident security experts, Stephen and John. Gents, welcome.
Always good to be here, Lynn. I didn't know that we would get to 40 episodes.
Great to join the conversation, especially on today's topic.
And that hot topic. As we mentioned in our last episode, a cyber extortionist has just been sentenced to 8 years in prison in terms of South Africa's Cybercrimes Act. We thought this was a good opportunity to discuss the Cybercrimes Act using this event as a base for the discussion. As usual, though, we start with information security news from the past week. What do you have for us, John?
Cybersecurity researchers from Cyber News confirmed a massive data breach involving approximately 16 billion login credentials, described as the largest password leak ever recorded.
This breach affected major platforms, including Apple, Google, Facebook, GitHub, Telegram, and various VPN services. The data was gathered throughout 2025 via multiple InfoStealer malware campaigns. The leak has sparked concerns about mass phishing, account takeovers, and identity theft, prompting recommendations to change passwords, even for accounts with two-factor authentication, due to potential zero-day vulnerabilities.
Back to today's topic, though, the Cybercrimes Act. John, you were following this case, as I recall?
I was, yes. The individual in question hacked a business and threatened to release sensitive data unless they were paid a ransom in Bitcoin. The company refused, and the attacker followed through, leaking confidential data online.
Nothing new there. But what's remarkable here is that law enforcement was able to trace the attack back to him using digital forensics. He was arrested, tried under the Cybercrimes Act, and received a severe sentence. A clear deterrent message.
That's right, and this gives us the perfect moment to unpack the Cybercrimes Act itself, where it came from, how it's structured, and why this case matters.
This discussion is probably overdue. South African companies have paid little to no attention to this act, unlike Papaya.
That's right, and yet it has direct implications for management behaviors.
The Cybercrimes Act, 19 of 2020, came into force in June 2021. Before this, South Africa's cyber criminal laws were outdated, fragmented across the ECT Act, common law, and sections of the Criminal Procedure Act.
Exactly. Globally, cybercrime was exploding. Ransomware, phishing, online fraud, and South Africa needed a unified legal framework to prosecute such offenses.
And the Act was also crafted with international standards in mind, right?
Yes. It aligns with the Budapest Convention on Cybercrime, which is the global gold standard. While South Africa isn't yet a formal signatory, the Act mirrors much of that framework, particularly in defining offenses and enabling cross-border cooperation.
Let's explore the structure of the Act. What are the key sections?
The Act is broken into several chapters, but the meat is in chapters 2, 3, and 5. Chapter 2 defines cybercrimes, including unlawful access or hacking, unlawful interception of data, unlawful acts in respect of software or hardware tools, cyber fraud, and cyber extortion. Very relevant to our case today.
Chapter 3 then outlines procedural powers for law enforcement. It allows for search and seizure, access to data, and interception under warrant.
Which was crucial in this case. They used those powers to trace the suspect.
Exactly. And Chapter 5 talks about jurisdiction. Cybercrime often crosses borders, so the Act extends SA's jurisdiction to crimes committed outside the country if the victim or infrastructure is inside South Africa.
Don't forget the duty to report. Section 54 obliges electronic communication service providers to report cyber offenses to South African police services within 72 hours of becoming aware.
Now, let's map the cyber extortionist's actions to the law. What sections did he fall foul of?
Primarily Section 10, cyber extortion. That covers any threat to damage, delete, or prevent access to data, or to disclose it in order to force someone to act or refrain from acting. like paying a ransom.
He also likely breached Section 2, unauthorized access, and Section 8, cyber fraud, given that he infiltrated a system and manipulated data to support the extortion.
And because he demanded payment in Bitcoin, there may have been money laundering aspects investigated under the Financial Intelligence Center Act, too.
Yes, and SAPS's cybercrime unit, along with digital forensic specialists, pieced together logs, IP traces, and cryptocurrency wallets. Without the Cybercrimes Act in place, this would have been a lot harder to prosecute.
This case is a landmark for enforcement in South Africa. It shows the Cybercrimes Act isn't just words on paper, it's actionable.
It also warns would-be cybercriminals. South Africa is serious about enforcement. The 8-year sentence is no slap on the wrist.
And for organizations, it reinforces the need to report incidents, harden cyber defenses, and be ready to work with law enforcement.
This has been a very quick overview of the Act because of our time constraints. It is worth reviewing in detail in your own time if you are involved in any aspect of IT or information security management, including penetration testing. It also extends to activities such as cyberbullying and misrepresentation, such as pretending to be someone else online, including on social media.
A key aspect of the Act, though, is the use of the phrase unlawfully and intentionally for any of the mentioned acts to be deemed criminal.
That's not a get-out-of-jail-free card, though. How does anyone prove that their actions were not intentional?
We also need to highlight Section 2. Any person who unlawfully and intentionally performs an act in respect of a computer system or a computer data storage medium, which places the person who performed the act in a position to commit an offense, is guilty of an offense. I have redacted it a bit, but the implication is significant to me. If someone unlawfully and deliberately does something involving a computer system or data storage device, and that act puts themselves or someone else in a position to commit specific cyber offenses, they are already guilty of a crime, even if the main crime hasn't yet happened.
Management needs to understand the Act, right? Creating the ability to commit a cyber offense makes you as guilty as doing the offense itself.
I'd be interested to see that tested in court. As an aside, we have to mention that one of the Priviso managers has co-authored a book on the Cybercrimes Act with specific guidance for management. The book is called The Cybercrimes Act: What You Need to Know. It's available from Juta, and we will put the link in the notes.
Before we close off, we just want to remind South African companies that we all need to have our PIA Section 32 submissions in by 30th June. This covers the period 1st April 2024 to 31st March 2025.
If you want to hear more of the same, don't forget to subscribe or like our channel to receive future episodes. You can find us on all primary podcast channels, including Apple, Samsung, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. As always, this is sponsored by Priviso Consulting, your partner when trust matters.
And remember, if you need security, risk, or ICT legislation assistance, contact Priviso directly at admin@priviso.co.za.
Until next time, stay safe.
Stay safe.